Hey, what's up everyone? It's JR again from Holy Faith TV. You're watching Catholic in a Car. Just wanted to talk about cutting the cord today. Why are people still paying for cable? It's something I just really don't understand. Although it's fewer and fewer people, I still don't understand why there's some people out there that are paying big money every single month, hundreds and hundreds of dollars on cable bills. And it just, to me, doesn't make sense. I mean, there's nothing on TV these days that are worth watching. When I was growing up as a kid, there was always shows that everybody talked about. It seemed like everybody watched those shows. For example, when I was a kid, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, every single kid, it seems like, has a memory from that show, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Or Family Matters was another one. I mean, maybe you didn't watch it, but most people did. Full House, that was another show. Everybody seemed to watch the show Full House. And that's just sitcoms. So we could get into all the dramas that people used to watch, but people talked about it. It was part of your popular culture. And now, as far as I'm concerned, maybe it's because I'm a little bit older, but it seems like nobody talks, other than maybe the odd Game of Thrones episode. People watch that and talk about it and discuss it, but The Bachelor, I mean, there's a few shows out there that still maybe have a little bit of steam, but even then, when they get a popular show, there's so many knockoffs of it, because there's nothing that works on cable TV or even on network television anymore. There's nothing that works, so as soon as one show comes out that works, it seems like almost 100 knockoffs of it, and they really water down the product of the original. Look at, American Idol, for example. As soon as American Idol had one or two successful seasons, how many different shows were there on the air? It seemed like every single network, and even cable networks, got in on the act of ripping off that original show, because literally nothing is working out there. People are cutting the cord at record pace right now. There's so many better options out there. So you go on YouTube, TV's just not the same as it was. People can go on YouTube and consume television on demand, what they want, based on their interests. They no longer have to sit in front of a TV and worry about missing the start time of their show. Even with PVRs, people still are cutting the cord at record speed, because there's so much more online. Not only online can you get the network television content, you can get the cable company content online, but you can get so much more even on Netflix, like Netflix original produced series. And I'm not a big fan of Netflix. I used to have a subscription. I canceled it roughly 6 months to maybe a year ago. But even then, people have found other options. Things like Sling TV is network television, but available online. I really don't see a future for things like Sling TV. I just don't think it's going to work, because people want to consume. They want to pay as little as they can for it, and they want to consume everything on demand. Live TV, other than maybe you could argue sports, is basically a thing of the past. People just don't watch live TV anymore like they used to. People don't gather around the television on Sunday nights or on Saturday evenings to consume live television. Most kids today, teenagers, they consume most of their stuff through avenues like YouTube or Vimeo or different options like that. And there's so many new ones now that it's impossible to sit there and list all of them. But how can you blame them when you consider the price of cable TV? And cable TV, they never learn their lesson. So instead of recognizing, first off, that they should have went to the a la carte model of business, they didn't recognize it. If anything, they just cranked up the old model and they try to fit it into a modern context with so many other options out there, and they expect it to work. And what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And these networks and these cable companies, they just haven't caught up with the times. So instead, what they try to do is they try to take a different path, which is to pretty much persecute these independent online media sources, especially with the cable news business. Cable news is just slowly, not even slowly, it's rapidly, I should say, dying out. It's a thing of the past. Look at the ratings of CNN and MSNBC, and even Fox News has taken a hit over the last, especially the last 2 years. Look what's happening at ESPN in sports. They're losing so many subscribers every month that it's affected how much the staff that they hire. They just recently, I think maybe 2 months ago, they made a number of cuts because they're just bleeding money, and that's even a company that's owned by a major parent company like Disney. They can't sustain the losses anymore. ESPN, I believe it was last year, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that they lost almost 10, or maybe they're losing 10 million subscribers a month. I could be off base there. Maybe it was only per year. But even if it is only a year, that's a significant number of subscribers to lose. I mean, the population of the United States is only roughly about 350 million. So to lose that many subscribers even in a year has got to be a major hit to the ratings. So they're still the number one, the leader in sports for sure when it comes to the cable sports business. But they're slowly dying off, and I'm convinced that in 5 years they're just going to be a shell of what they were before. The models for television have changed. People no longer want to go to these big mega corporations to consume the product. They want to pay, they want to pick and pay. And it seems like cable companies, their only reaction to that type of business is to persecute these online. Look at PewDiePie. So I don't know if you guys are aware of the YouTube channel PewDiePie, but as of this past summer, he had like 53 million subscribers, which is far beyond for an independent person who's sitting at home and making videos to have 53 million, a reach of 53 million people, that he can upload a video and 53 million people nearly are going to be notified and have a chance to consume that video. Cable TV must be just drooling at their chops to have a base like that, a dedicated base, because most people that subscribe to a channel are very dedicated to the things that they subscribe to. They intentionally chose to subscribe. Versus ESPN, on the other hand, or companies like CNN, on the other hand, they force people to take subscriptions to their channel. And that's why cable rates are so high, because I think it's ESPN, for example, that gets $25 per subscriber. That's ridiculous. People don't watch ESPN that much. But even you could make the argument that people still want to consume live sports, and ESPN's the leader in live sports. Okay, well, what about CNN? Look at the ratings. CNN's ratings are terrible. They're on in every airport in the United States. You go into restaurants, you go into bars, and they're all playing CNN. So apart from those places, who's actually watching CNN at home? It seems like almost nobody. Everybody thinks they're a joke. Nobody takes them serious anymore. They've been exposed so many times for fake news that nobody really takes them serious at all. And I'm not sitting here, I'm not coming on here to talk about this to rag on necessarily on CNN, because Fox News is just as bad. They're a right-wing equivalent. Maybe it's not as explicit in their coverage of how biased they are, but even these guys, you know, you're not getting independent news analysis whenever you watch cable news. It's something that's bought and paid for. There's so many hands in the pot. These talking heads that go on TV, they're basically slaves of whatever their bosses, their corporate heads, tell them that they have to talk about or can't talk about. Look at Bill O'Reilly. They did everything they could to get the guy off the air. And Bill O'Reilly isn't by any stretch somebody that's a hardcore or staunch conservative. Definitely wouldn't be somebody you'd consider from the alt-right. But they just did not want his point of view on the air. And I think, in all fairness to Bill O'Reilly, he has a number of issues for sure in my view book. But the thing that I did appreciate about Bill O'Reilly is that I got the impression, versus some of the other people at Fox News, I always got the impression with Bill O'Reilly that he's at least being sincere. Now, you might think he's a little bit crazy or off the wall or whatnot, but I at least thought that the opinions that he was talking about on air were at least his own opinions. And other people, I don't get that same impression with. I'm not a big fan of Sean Hannity. I listen to his radio show once in a while. I used to watch his TV show once in a blue moon, but I feel he's establishment, so to speak. He'll say that he isn't, but that's definitely the impression that I come away with. I come away with the impression from Sean Hannity, that no matter what a Democrat does, it could be the best thing in the world, and Sean Hannity wouldn't support it because it's coming from the Democrats. And I'm not a fan of the Democrats, but I'm just saying as an example that no matter what the Democrats do, Sean Hannity's going to be against it, even if it makes the most sense in the world, which very rarely happens with the Democrats. But regardless, he's just somebody I don't take serious anymore. I think he's good for a laugh. Once in a while, if I want to laugh, I'll watch Sean Hannity, or I'll tune into his show. He does make some good points here and there, for sure, but for the most part, he's not somebody I can take serious for analysis or opinions on the news. Sorry, I mean, I can take him serious for his opinions, but even then, I don't feel that they're actually true opinions. I feel like he's a tool of whichever party it is that he supports. So I got carried off a little bit there, but regardless, there's so many people on YouTube that when you go on there, when you watch their videos, you download their content, you know that what they're saying is what they actually believe. And that's something that you very rarely get when you watch cable news. And then again, in sports, look at all the controversy at ESPN over just the last couple of years. They actually had to reassign. This is the most ridiculous thing. I couldn't even believe that it happened. It seemed like something out of a comic strip. Because of the controversies going on in the southern United States with the Robert Lee statues, whether you agree or disagree with them removing the statues, there was actually a reporter named Robert Lee who was Asian. The guy's Asian. And he was covering a game, and I forget which game it was now, but he was covering a college football game. His name's Robert Lee, which Lee is one of the most common Chinese names of any name out there. And they reassigned the guy to somewhere in the central United States to another game for fear that people would be offended by his name. Give me a break. This guy is an Asian. Is there anybody serious out there that would actually be offended by the guy's name? The guy didn't pick his name. His parents named him. He was born with it. Woo, his name's Robert Lee. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy, some of the things that are going on. And you just have to sigh, you have to laugh, and like I said, cut the cord. Get rid of these guys. There's nothing on, and anything that's worth watching, you pretty much can get for free if you know your way around the internet these days. So why would you waste your hard-earned money? Before I cut cable, I didn't even have the full bells and whistles package, but I think I was paying somewhere up around $140, $150 a month, and that was the basic package with most of the sports networks. I used to be an avid sports guy, and I think I may have had some documentary channels and history channels, things like that in there. But I was paying almost $150, which there's so many more things I can do every month with $150. And after I cut the cord, so it was a little bit tough at first getting live sports and things like that, but you realize that your interests also change. So now I don't care about every sport going. I'll watch hockey on the internet a little bit. I watch some baseball. Up here in Toronto, our baseball team, the Toronto Blue Jays, they did really well back last season, the season before that. So I got a little bit interested in baseball, but there's so many avenues that you can watch baseball online that they make cable almost unnecessary. But you see some of these major corporations now that they realize that their days are past, instead of finding a business model that adapts to it, instead they just keep doing the same old thing, and they try to eliminate your choice rather than giving you more choice, which is what cable was really all about when it first started. It was about giving you more choice, and now that they're feeling the heat, they're trying everything they can to protect that business model from being a total flop. Hey, I guess if I owned the business, maybe I'd feel differently about that. Or if I had shares in one of the major corporations like Comcast or something like that, maybe my opinion would be totally different. That's possible. But at the end of the day, it should be a lesson to everybody that you can't silence a free speech society. So America is built on the principles of the First Amendment. And anytime you try to attack that, there's going to be a lashback, and people are doing it now. Look how many conservatives have abandoned companies like ESPN, and they're really taking a hit for it. That's all for now.